Wondering how your mindset affects your life? How to bring more energy into your business and life? Millions of people around the world ask these same questions daily. You are in the right place. Learn practices that will help give your life the meaning and success you've been searching for. Welcome to the Charge Podcast, teaching you how to create habits around real goals every day. Practical life advice from those who made it. Here's your host, Gary Wilbers.
You may be asking, why is it so hard to find quality employees for my business? When running a business, you face new challenges every day. Finding the right candidates and keeping them during this time is extremely critical to your success. Every business should be able to find the right candidates with a proven system and retain them by coaching them to success. The Success in Hiring Framework gives you the tools you need to attract, engage, and retain quality team members so that you can move your business to the next level. With my Success in Hiring system for business owners, you will learn how to recruit, hire, and retain the right fit for your unique business. I created this system after all my experience as a business owner with the same struggles as you. Best of all, it is free. Why do I do that? Because my purpose in life is to help business owners reach their full potential. Go to chargepodcast.com and click on the link, Success in Hiring, to start you on the path to hiring the right people for your business. Welcome, Chargers. We're glad to have you back again this week for another great guest. I'm telling you, we've got a great lineup here in the second quarter. And today I've got a great guest again, because if you want to know a little more about marketing, I've got an expert with us today. So we're going to learn from him. So Chris, if you would share with the Chargers, what will the problem you solve for our listeners today?
Well, one of the things I want to try to solve is how local businesses, small businesses tend to, how they can make more effective their local marketing, how they can attract more customers, how they can really make themselves more visible and really stand out from the competition.
Excellent. And I love that, because small business is the backbone of our society. And been a small business owner for over 30 some years. That's why I wanted to have Chris on. So Chris, I'm going to ask you to share with me 3 questions that I should ask you that the Chargers can really learn from you as we go through the podcast.
Well, I think 3 questions that I would want to ask is, what are the best ways for a local or small business to promote themselves? You know, I mean, 20 years ago, you put it down in the yellow pages and you're pretty much done, and it worked well. Now it's so diversified that, you know, it's kind of a mess out there. I think probably secondly, what kind of metrics should you use to really know if your marketing efforts are working or not, right? And then I think finally, what are some things you can do to market to people once they become your customer? I mean, shouldn't marketing end once they become a customer? And the answer is absolutely no. But those are the questions probably.
Well, this is going to be a great podcast. I'm so glad Chris Pistorius said yes to us, and he's the founder of KickStart Dental Marketing. While Chris specializes in dental marketing, other medical professionals, marketers, entrepreneurs, and businesses can learn from his digital marketing experience of over 15 years. Chris has worked with countless local business owners in all industries across multiple facets of marketing, consulting, and even coaching. Chris has been able to build his local digital marketing agency into one of the top marketing agencies in the country, as listed in UpCity, SEO For Growth, DesignRush, Expertise, and AgencyVista. And he shares his experience by giving marketing seminars across the country and hosting a weekly marketing podcast himself. Chris, it is great to have you on the Charge Podcast. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, I know we've got our listeners hooked now, because marketing is one of those things that we've got to continue to learn, and it's changing daily. So we've got to really be tuned into this. So if you're a small business owner, this is going to be right up your alley, because we're going to talk about marketing. Yes, Chris does it in the area of dental marketing, but he has the expertise across those. And you shared with us one of the first questions, and I'm going to use that right out the gate. What are some of those best ways to grow a local business online? Because that's my client. I have a lot of small local owned businesses that listen to my podcast, and they're struggling right now because there's so many options. It's like, what do you do first? But let's just talk about the online side.
Yeah, I think the most important for a majority of small businesses out there is making yourself more visible online. And I don't mean like when somebody types in your business name on Google, right? Where those are people that already know who you are, right? They're going to find you. What I'm talking about is people who don't know who you are. Or they're looking for a widget maker in whatever city, right? And they type in widget in whatever city. That's the type of visibility that you need. And there are several ways to do that, including paid advertising options, organic, which is commonly known as SEO or search engine optimization. But I think the most critical thing is digital marketing, and it goes beyond visibility. It also goes, visibility is the found part of it, get found. The other part is how to be chosen. And that's where you need some kind of social proof. And that's where we talk about things like online reviews from your customers. How do you get those? Testimonials on your website, right? Video testimonials work extremely well. But I think if you can figure out the best ways to get your business more visible from a paid standpoint, a organic standpoint, and have some social proof behind you, that's where you'll really gain the most traction.
Yeah, I think that's the key is, you talked about some real challenges there, but, the video testimonials, I just saw an article, I forget which group it was, but they were talking about on testimonials now. It just really increases that attraction to you, the know, like, and trust model to you if you have those testimonials, and people are willing to give those proofs that's out there and giving you reviews, and you having that and having those proofs makes a difference in all type of ways in our marketing today that really just a few years ago it wasn't that way, but now they consider that a trusted source when people give reviews.
No question.
So I think one of the things that I'd like you to kind of share is you talked about some tips that you can really help business owners really with their visibility online. And then you also shared about a little bit of metrics, and maybe we break it down into two parts here. But maybe the first one is, how can they get their local business to really increase their visibility online? Because the problem is today, everyone's digital. Everyone has a phone and they're looking on their phone for the next place they're going to do business with.
Yeah. And what's even more scary than that, Gary, is that people that are doing the searches assume that the best widget maker or whatever industry you're in is on the first page of Google. And obviously there's no correlation between how you rank on a search page versus how well you make widgets, right? But the perception can be reality, and it's something that you as a small business owner have to deal with because it's absolutely the reality of the situation. So probably the biggest piece of advice I would give for a local or small business is every business out there likely has what we call Google My Business profile. And it's a free listing that you get with Google. And it's basically an opportunity to tell Google about your business. You can give them all kinds of information: name, address, phone number, website, business description, hours of operation. You upload photos. You can even blog through it. You can write a blog every day on it. This profile is extremely important to a local business just to get your information out there, but it's also how you rank on Google's Google My Business profile. For instance, when you do a search on Google and you add a geo modifier like city, state, zip code, something like that. So let's say plumber, Denver, right? That will trigger the Google My Business section of Google to show up. You've probably seen it. It's got the map with 3 or 4 listings next to it, right? Well, that's like the new yellow pages for many of your listeners. They're as old as I am, but people are attracted to that part of the page because you can get so much information from it. You can see reviews and driving directions and go to people's website and you see where they are on a map. Well, this is very important place for your business to be listed. And it's directly impacted if you're listed there by the information that you give Google when you set up the profile. Now, it's not quite that simple where you can just fill out the information and there you are on the first page. There's some other things you need to do as well, but I think that's a great first step. Make sure you have that profile, you own it, all the information's correct, and you add as much content to that as you possibly can.
Yeah, I think that's a big key. I know I've done some trainings on that and shared with some of my mastermind members, because if you don't take the time to really dig into that Google My Business, like you said, people are looking that up all the time, and they're not looking the specific business, but it comes up. And like you said, if you do plumber in Denver, Colorado, and you don't have that and have a picture that shows what you do, or a picture of your truck, something of that nature in there, you're not coming up and you're missing out. And people don't have a phone book anymore. We both know what those are, but they don't have them. So we've got to have that capability there. You also talked about in that second part of it is really some of those metrics. And, the hard part for a lot of people that they really don't understand, what should I be looking for when I'm looking at those metrics?
Yeah, I think for me, it's all about how many customers, how many widgets are people buying from your marketing efforts? There's a lot of agencies out there that will report to their clients on, hey, this is how many people went to your website, or this is how many people clicked on your ad. And that's all great information to have. We track that too. But when we talk to our clients, we talk about return on investment. It's more about, okay, how many actual new patients came to you from our marketing efforts? So there's things that you can do out there, like call tracking, for instance. There's several companies that come to mind, like CallRail. Call tracking metrics are a couple of the big names out there, but it's fairly inexpensive to set up call tracking numbers so that when your customers call you for marketing, you can actually listen to the calls, and it'll even tell you where these calls originated from. So did they come from Google or Yahoo or Yelp, or did they come from a direct mail piece that you did, or maybe you bought a billboard, whatever it may be. So by doing call tracking, you can pretty definitively see how much traffic is coming in from your marketing efforts in terms of calls. You can, if you listen to them, you can determine if they're good customers or not. And then you can also determine where the heck they came from. So what's working in terms of marketing. And then there's all kinds of like web analytics. I just talked about a few, like how many people are going to your website, what pages are they going to on your website, which you should pay attention to, because maybe they're going to pages that you didn't really intend them to go to, and you maybe need to beef those up a little bit. We also track form fill outs. So if somebody fills out a form on your website for more information, we track where those come from originally. But in my opinion, the most valuable probably tracking metric is how many customers are you getting? Where are they coming from? And then that can really change the scope of your marketing. Maybe things that you thought were working before aren't working as well as you thought they did. And you need to reallocate some budget to places that actually is working a little bit better.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the idea of the tracking numbers, because it really gives you, and you can have more than one number, and some people say, but it really really gives you where that customer is coming from, and you can really see what's working. And then the other part of it is, like you said, then you can pull up from your database of how many of those became clients, and I know there's some recording there, so you can actually improve your staff on how are they approaching that. Are they just giving information and not asking for the invite of creating the appointment or inviting them in? All those things that come with that, and that call tracking becomes huge, and those other analytics become huge too. And the big thing is a question we have to ask ourselves, because I know a lot of small business owners, they have a ton of things to do. This becomes one of those things that I just don't get around to it.
Yeah.
And a real challenge. So, that's the thing, is you don't have to be the one to get around to it. Find an agency that gives you the right information. And that's what Chris is trying to share with us today, is how we can be educated. So when we sit down with that agency, what you need to ask for and what you need to be receiving from them. And if they're not giving that, then they're not the right agency probably for you to do your business with you.
Right.
Chris, another area that we wanted to kind of talk about was really what's working now in digital marketing. And hopefully we're past the point of if we should do digital marketing, but really what's working, because, there's so much out there. And I think that's what cripple small business owners. They think they have to do it all. And I'm curious to hear your philosophy of what's working and what your philosophy is of getting started in the area of digital marketing.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that works for us is that organic ranking on Google, ranking in Google My Business. And also below that is just kind of what we call the regular organic section, which is a list of websites. I would say about 60% of all the leads that come in right now for our clients, which are dentists, but no matter the local business industry, I think it'd be the same. About 60% comes from that Google My Business section. However, I think that probably the second best thing that's working right now is video, right? So, and I'm not talking about spending thousands of dollars to bring in a video production crew and, all this stuff. I'm talking about, these things, these iPhones or whatever phone you have these days have tremendous technological capabilities in terms of well their camera is, the sound, you name it. You can just do little, like for instance, one thing that I'm thinking about doing, but sometimes I get caught up with the time thing as well, is just a quick 2 or 3 minute video every day on tips and tricks about marketing for dentists, and then posting that out to all my channels. Something like that can be tremendously valuable. And the byproduct of it is if you're posting it on your website, is that's going to help beef up your search engine optimization stuff for your website so that your organic Google rankings will increase with that. So there's a lot of good byproducts from video. And when you look at the bigger picture, everything kind of fits marketing wise like that. So video, just talk about your industry. And if you're having trouble thinking about what to write about or what to do video about, think about frequently asked questions in your industry. What are some of the most common questions that customers ask about your widget, right? And answer those first, and then you can expand on those. So I think probably video is the second winner for us in terms of what's working really well.
Yeah, and right there's a tip that everyone can take and they can do something about it. Instead of doing everything,
right,
do these 2 things. Go look at your Google My Business and what do you have on there?
Right.
Or is everything updated? Because if it's not updated, there's a problem right there.
Right.
But update, but then add to that, because there's so many things. You can even add some of those videos that's there. You can add more things to it. And there's a way with products and services. There's so much that you can add there. You talked about even adding a blog. If you had that, if you don't, that's fine. But put that as full, complete it, and then tell yourself you're going to add to it. And the key is, and I think you mentioned that is, don't do it one time and then not touch it till next year.
Yeah.
It's a weekly thing. If you can add weekly, it's great. If hours change, make sure you change them. If there's a holiday, note it in there that there's that holiday that's in there. And then I loved what you said about video, because I forget what the number is, but HubSpot's got some stats out there, and video is the number one attractor now, that's available. And like you said, it doesn't have to be high tech. If you're in the heating and air conditioning business, you could just film a guy working on the heating and air conditioning, and it's air conditioning time is, do you have these struggles that your air conditioner's not work? Well, our service techs do da-da-da. And, it can be a quick 30 seconds to 60-second video, but it catches people's attention.
Yep. No question. Another tip on that, Gary, would be what we like to do with our videos, especially the shorter ones, is we have them transcribed into text, so that we basically show the video like on our website, and then below it is the transcription of it. There's a bunch of them that do it, but one of the companies is called Rev, R-E-V, and it's pretty cheap to have done, and it just takes them like 30 minutes. So definitely worthwhile.
Yeah, definitely. There's so many tools out there, but the big key is for small business owners, I think it's about getting started.
Yeah.
It's getting started and realizing what do you need to do. And you can start off on the organic side. And if you're not the expert in it, one thing is, while you listen to this podcast, you've learned some, so you're able to take from that. But go out there and decide. And, maybe you visit with a couple different agencies, because there's marketing agencies that can help you in those areas. But make sure you know what questions you need to be asking. And I'm going to turn this on you. We didn't plan this. But if you were going to hire an agency, what would be the top couple questions, 2 or 3, that you would, if you were hiring them, what would you really want to know from them to be able to get those results and be able to put your hard-earned money or people that spend it to you?
Yeah, I think I would ask them how they track results and how they measure results. That'll tell you everything. And then ask for an example of what that report or whatever it is looks like. Because if it's just kind of what I call busy metrics of like, clicks and things like that, then, I don't think that tells me a lot about what I'm getting out of it. But if they're showing you how many people are calling, how many leads you got, things like that, then that tells me that they're really motivated based on, what the actual metrics are and what the results are. So I think that's probably the top thing. And then always ask for references. That's always a good idea. And don't just ask for them, actually call them when you get them.
Yeah, that is a great one. Chris, I truly appreciate you sharing that, because I think we're helping solve with small business owners the challenges they're having. And, I can tell from your side of it, you're a giving person. Yeah, you may be in the dental area, but the thing is, it crosses all platforms.
Yeah.
Digital marketing does today. And it's ultimately about getting clients. This
Right.
is your new wave of marketing. So, I go back to the newspaper days. I'm so old. We did newspaper ads and we did radio, and those, now they're still there, but there's new ways to attract them. And the thing is about it, just go to any place. How many times, to think about this, if you're looking for a place to go eat, did you pull up what's near me or something of that?
Yeah.
So if you're doing that on the restaurant side, do you think your clients, your customers, if they need a plumber or they need a heating and air conditioning guy, you think they're going somewhere else? No, they're going to their phone to get that information today.
And it's funny you mentioned that, because the near me searches have taken over now. So it's like, for our industry, dentist near me is one of the top things you can rank for. But I see it in other small businesses too, HVAC near me, auto body near me, those are some of the top searches. So
great. Well, I truly appreciate you sharing that. We've got some great information, I think, that we can give our audience. Would you share with them your website, so if they just want to see how you do it, or if they may have a dentist that's on here and may want to check out you, that they can do that? Go ahead and share your website. Yeah,
it's KickStartDental.com. Well, you can see it on my shirt here, KickStartDental.com. And there's actually even if you're not a dentist, there's a button on my website to schedule a free strategy session. And if you're an auto body guy or an HVAC guy, whatever, and you need some help and guidance, go ahead and fill it out. I do all of the strategy sessions myself. So I'd be more than happy to give you some free advice and tips, no matter what industry you're in, or at least point you in the right direction for sure. Yeah. And that's the key. You have to know enough, because otherwise, let's be honest, I'm sorry, there's some agencies out there that kind of give you the surface. And to truly be successful, you've got to get the correct analytics that we've talked about and be in the right places to make it successful for you. Thanks for sharing that, Chris. And we'll share that at the end too. But I always love giving that before we go to the recharge round. Now, I always ask every guest 2 questions, or kind of questions that I love to be able to share with people. The first one is, of course, the podcast is named Charge, but that's a mantra of mine, of create habits around real goals every day. I'm curious to hear from your point of view, what habit do you think's led to success in your life? I'm a big believer in creating opportunity for yourself. I'm not much for sitting around and waiting for things to happen, especially good things. So the way I started my business 12 years ago was basically knocking down doors and just hustling and getting after it and trying to create as much opportunity as I possibly could for myself and my family. And I think that's probably, the best advice that I can give. If you're just starting out, or maybe you've owned a business for 10 years, I consistently kind of think back of what got me started and what made me successful. And I try to repeat that, right? Well, I try to reinvent the wheel. So I think it's just hustling and being active and doing anything you can to create opportunity and to create opportunities for your business. Yeah, that's a great one. And it's a good one for all of us to hear, because after these last couple of years, a lot of business owners feel a little bit beat down, and you've got to decide to create the opportunity for yourself. The opportunity is there, but we've got to go out and learn those new things to be able to make it happen. Well, Chris, we've all made mistakes. We've all had challenges. We've had some failures there.
Of course, in do-over, you don't always get a do-over in life, but I always like to ask this question to see how people come with it is, if you had a do-over in your life, what would it be?
That's a good one. When I first started my business, actually for the first several years, I didn't really create a company. I created more like a job for myself. And so I think if I had to do it over again, I would have done what I've done the last 5 or 6 years, which is actually starting a company, meaning hiring people, getting them to do things that I'm not necessarily great at, and having myself work more kind of on the business versus in the business. Some of your listeners and you may have read the book E-Myth Revisited. They talk a lot about that. So I'm certainly not the one to make this up, but that book kind of really switched gears for me, and it got me out of the day-to-day doing everything in the business and just working on more strategy, which I think I'm better at, and just kind of big picture stuff. So if I had to do it over again, I'd have probably done that a little bit quicker.
Yeah, and that's a good one, because I have a mastermind, a Send mastermind that I do with people. And one of the things I try to help them with is really moving from that stagnant to the growth. But a lot of it is getting out of your own way.
Yeah.
Because we think we're the technician, we're the specialist, we've got to know everything. No, it's about getting the right people and putting those systems in place. And when you do that, you get to enjoy being a business owner a lot more. I'm sure you enjoy it today a lot more than you did when you were grinding all the time.
Yeah, I mean, before, if I went on vacation, the business kind of stopped, right? Now I can go on vacation and not really have to worry too much about it. And I've got a system and a team in place that can probably do it better than I did. So that's always a good thing.
That's right. Well, you find their strengths instead of, otherwise we're not always working in our strengths. And that's the real key is, there's things we're great at, but there's things, let's be honest, that other people are. I'm fortunate. My wife is very good with our finance side, and I want to know the numbers. But man, putting in those bills and invoices and printing those checks and, sending those invoices, that's not me. That would be like, that would be like pulling teeth, Yeah. I got the dental guy here on.
That's right.
Well, Chris, I truly appreciate your time, and thank you for joining us on the podcast. Share with them again your website address.
Yeah, just KickStartDental.com.
Okay. And he's on social media. We'll have all those posted and listed. You can go to chargepodcast.com. Makes it easy, because we know the majority of our guests are not sitting here just listening to us. They're exercising, or they're doing something active, and they're making things happen instead of just sitting there and listening. But go back, because there's a lot of great information that Chris shared. And really, it's about finding what works for you in digital, but really finding the trends and then really analyzing what's out there. And I love what Chris said. I think he gave gave lots of great tips, but these two, I would really tell you, look at your Google My Business page and find out. If you can't find that password, you might have a challenge, but find that password and get that thing updated. And then how are you going to implement video into your business? How are you going to implement video? Because that's what people are consuming today. And if you can do those two things right there, you're going to see some increase. And then you can find that right agency to work with you to really increase that you're getting more clients from the business instead of just posting things out there. Because I think that's the problem. Too many of us are still just posting versus really marketing to our clients. So Chris, thanks again for joining us.
Of course. Thanks so much for having me.
Chargers, I want you to go out and make this happen. Now, I know somebody that needs to listen to this podcast because they're struggling in this area. So go ahead and like and share this podcast. Remember, just go to your app. There's 3 little dots there. You can easily send them a text message, and they're going to be able to listen to the podcast. And come back next week and join us again. Now, we like likes and reviews too. So if you'll go to your podcast app and do a review for us, we would truly appreciate it, because that's how our podcast keeps growing every week. Have a great day.
This podcast is ended, but your life doesn't just stop. To continue your inspiring journey, head over to chargepodcast.com and access all the tools and resources mentioned on today's show. If you enjoyed this episode, consider sharing with somebody who may also benefit from the advice provided. That's chargepodcast.com. Until next time, charge in business and life.